Hello, everyone. I hope you're keeping well. It's getting incredibly cold out there at the moment, so please do stay safe and look after yourselves. Here at Sight for White, we're starting to get everything ready for Christmas. Over the next couple of weeks, we will be decorating Millbrook House and added some festive touches across our sites to make them feel warm, welcoming, and cheerful for the season. We're also looking forward to a few Christmas fairs that are coming up very soon. These are always really lovely opportunities to meet people, spread a bit of Christmas spirit, and raise awareness of the work that we do. So, if you're able to come along, it would be amazing to see you there. As part of making our outdoor spaces more inviting, we'll be soon putting some garden items outside, including a water feature. So if you have any last minute ideas or suggestions for anything that you would like to see in the garden, please do let us know as soon as you can so we can take your preferences into consideration. That's all for now. Stay safe, wrap up warm, and look forward to sharing more updates with you all very soon.
Here is this week's charity news, the 21st of November 2025. Swimming at Medina is on Monday between 1:15 p.m. and 2 p.m. We have the whole pool, so whether you wish to swim lanes or just have gentle exercise in the pool, you will be made very welcome. The cost is £6 and transport is available, although limited. All members are very welcome to join.
Coffee and Chat is on Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. The cost is £2 to include drinks and cake. Staff are on hand to help with any queries and to demonstrate equipment.
Mix and Mingle is on Thursday at Millbrook House. We have a waiting list for this group, but if you're interested, please call the office to put your name down.
The Ion Social Christmas meal is on Friday at the Isle of Wight College. This is a sold-out event, so if you haven't put your name down, unfortunately there's no room this time.
Our busy knitters have been delivering their wonderful Christmas novelties to us, and we will be selling them across the island and at Millbrook House from the 1st of December. This year we have a variety of goodies, all looking wonderful and making ideal Christmas presents.
Our Living Well with Sight Loss information session is on Monday 1st of December at Millbrook House at 10 a.m. This is open to anyone, including family and carers, who wish to find out about sight loss and what support is available. Please call the office to book a space.
We will be at the Newport Minster on December the 6th with a festive craft stall. The fair runs between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m, so come along and buy some lovely goodies on offer.
Please remember our November Stride is in December due to college lunch. More details to follow next week.
Our Story Writing Awards evening is on December the 12th at the Riverside Centre, Newport. There will be entertainment, raffle and tombola, and winning stories will be announced. The evening starts at 7 p.m. with doors opening at 6:30 p.m. The evening is free, so come along and enjoy a festive night.
Our Christmas cards are also available, selling fast this year, with several designs already being sold out. They are only £3.50p for packs of 10, so once again please call the office if you wish to order.
Our annual Christmas raffle is underway, and we thank everyone who have already returned their raffle tickets. Prizes are arriving at Millbrook House, but we're always grateful of any prizes anyone wishes to donate. If you would also like more tickets, please do not hesitate to call the office, and we can send more books out in the post. The draw takes place on December the 10th during our festive morning.
On Tuesday, we will be putting our Christmas tree in the Isle of Wight Pearl, and would like to thank everyone who has decorated old spectacles. They all look amazing. It is not too late if you would like to decorate a pair. We can add them to the tree as the week progresses. The trees are on display until December 31st, so please pop along to the Isle of Wight Pearl in Brystone and vote for our tree.
We are once again running a Warner's break in April next year, as advertised in the newsletter. So if you are interested in joining us, please call the office and put your name down. If you would like to discuss it further, please call and speak to Susan.
This is Brian reading an item from Isle of Wight Radio. Ireland author Joe Cooper releases new World War II novel all about Peggy. Ireland author Joe Cooper has released her latest novel, All About Peggy, a story that builds on the success of her award-winning book, There Will Be Blue Skies, and revisits characters from her A Red Sky trilogy about child evacuees on the Isle of Wight. Set in the early years of the Second World War, the novel brings to life the story of Nurse Peggy, inspired by the real experiences of Cooper's parents. The book explores the personal struggles of the era, weaving fictional storytelling with the realities of wartime Britain. Fiona Newnham Brothers, BEM, praised the new release, saying, "Enticed into Nurse Peggy's world during World War II, you will be kept on your toes, interleaving with real-life events and the horrors of war." Set on the Isle of Wight with sweetheart Brian, the couple experience many dangers. Joe Cooper will be holding several book signing events in the run-up to Christmas. Saturday, 29th of November, Sandown Lifeboat Christmas Fair at the Broadway Centre. Sunday the 30th of November, Medina Sports Hall, I'll Dream of a White Christmas Fair.
This is Chris reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight needs fresh elections, says MP after damning council report. The island is in need of a fresh set of elections, according to the Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson, following the release of the Penn report, which labelled County Hall dysfunctional. Mr Robertson, who is also the County Councillor for Bembridge, said the Isle of Wight Council had been struggling for some time, and that many of its issues were systemic and long-standing. The independent review by consultant Richard Penn highlighted a troubled culture within the authority, where policies and procedures meant to act as checks and balances are all too often ignored or forgotten. Speaking to the Local Democracy Reporting Service, Mr Robertson said the report has helped shine a light on some of the problems within the Isle of Wight Council, some of which we were aware of already. The council has been struggling for some time, and we are in need of a fresh set of elections so island residents can have their say. He criticised the government for cancelling the island's local elections earlier this year and urged ministers not to delay them again next May. Mr Robertson also expressed concern over national plans that he said undermine local democracy, including proposals for a combined mayoral authority covering the island and a top-down housing target imposed on the council. He stressed that the Penn report's criticisms applied not only to councillors but to officers as well, saying he now looked to the council leader and chief executive to set out a clear plan to tackle the issues raised. While he believes elections are necessary, he added that not all problems at County Hall will be solved simply by going to the polls. Isle of Wight West Labour MP Richard Quigley has been approached for comment.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Low rainfall this winter could push Isle of Wight into drought, warns Environment Agency. A new report from the Environment Agency has warned that the Isle of Wight could face drought conditions in 2026 unless the region experiences sustained rainfall this winter. Hampshire, the Isle of Wight and Sussex are currently experiencing prolonged dry weather, with parts of Sussex already in official drought due to low water levels at Ardingly Reservoir. The Environment Agency has said that unless sufficient rainfall occurs before the end of March 2026, all three counties are at risk of entering drought, which could easily see the return of a hosepipe ban once again next year. A drought prospects report outlines 3 possible rainfall scenarios and their consequences. If 100% of typical rainfall occurs over winter, current dry weather classifications would move to recovery by spring. If rainfall reaches only 80% of normal levels, dry conditions will persist. A very dry winter with only 60% of average rainfall could result in full drought across all southern counties. England has experienced below average rainfall in 8 out of the past 10 months. Despite this, heavy rain could still trigger flash floods due to dry ground being unable to absorb intense downpours quickly. The Environment Agency's report also urges coordinated action across sectors. Water companies are expected to engage with customers, reduce leakage, and prepare infrastructure for colder weather. They're also encouraged to identify alternative water sources and accelerate conservation efforts. Farmers are being advised to consider more drought-resistant crops, fill reservoirs as early as possible, and explore water sharing arrangements with neighbouring farms. Helen Wakeham, Director of Water at the Environment Agency, has said, "There will be a drought next year unless we get sustained rainfall through the winter. The severity of that drought will depend both on the weather and the actions we take over winter following this very dry year. The public have been brilliant in using a little less water this summer and following restrictions in some parts of the country. I would urge people to continue to be as efficient as possible with their water use this winter, even if it is raining outside. Our wildlife, our rivers, and our public water supplies depend on it."
This is Chris, reading an article from the Island Echo. Council to consider local plan changes, including reduced affordable housing targets. Fewer affordable housing units, but a higher volume of homes could be built under changes proposed to the Isle of Wight's new plan. Full Council is set to consider several revisions to the draft Island Planning Strategy, IPS, in light of a letter from the Planning Inspectorate to County Hall in April, which included concerns over housing delivery. The IPS has been developed to replace the Island Plan Core Strategy 2012, and a draft was previously submitted to the Planning Inspectorate for examination, with hearing sessions taking place earlier this year. Inspectors identified a shortfall of 394 homes over a 5-year period in the April post-hearings letter. But a council report, due to be presented tomorrow, instead puts forward a 315 figure, due to the passage of time and taking into account the granting of recent planning consents. The report says 3,691 homes need to be built over 5 years, which includes a buffer amount. It gives a 703 annual new homes requirement and proposes to address the 315 shortfall with adjusted policies and by allocating additional sites. An appendix to the document sets out 8 housing delivery areas, including greenfield sites such as land at 155 Staplers Road, as well as brownfield locations, for example, land at Sandown Airport and behind St Vincent's Care Home in Ryde. The Planning Inspectorate's letter also said the viability study supporting the local plan should be updated. A viability study shows a developer is able to meet all the policy requirements of the local plan, according to the council report. And since the last local plan viability report in 2022, a number of development-related costs have increased significantly, including build costs and the cost of borrowing development finance, the report says. As a result of a newly updated viability report, council officers are now proposing changes to the plan's policy relating to affordable housing, with some reductions from the current 35% affordable housing requirements for the new developments. Proposed requirements set out in County Hall's report include a 15% affordable housing share for lower value brownfield zones, 20% for lower value greenfield sites with under 50 units proposed, and 35% for higher value sites. The report says, whilst this proposed reduction will decrease the number of affordable homes that some schemes will deliver on site, the alternative of maintaining the policy requirement of 35% affordable housing across the whole island at the deeper discounts from market value set out in policy AFF1 has been demonstrated as unviable in some locations and marginal in others. Were the council to not alter policy H5 in line with the viability advice, then the strong likelihood is that the policy and therefore plan would be found unsound by the planning inspectors. The document is at pains to point out that the new local plan's deeper discounts for affordable housing would remain unchanged by the reductions. So, whilst the number of affordable homes would reduce, the discount from market value would still be at the island affordable levels set out in policy AFF1, it says. Other changes proposed on the back of the Inspectorate's letter include deleting a net zero carbon and lowering energy consumption in the new development policy due to viability considerations and reducing the new plan's ancient woodlands buffer from a minimum of 50 metres to a minimum of 15 metres. Earlier this month, the Policy, Finance and Resources Committee considered the revisions and recommended them to full council, subject to 2 alterations: removing an 18-unit former Ryde Theatre allocation and increasing the windfall allowance from 110 homes annually to 115 each year over 5 years.
Good morning, I'm John.
Good morning, and I'm Ursula.
Now we have news items and sport. MP slams road closure timing amid Christmas trade fears by John Marino. Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson has blasted Southern Water for very bad timing over plans to shut one of Bembridge's 2 main access roads during the festive season, as businesses fear a crippling blow to Christmas trade. Embankment Road is set to close for 3 weeks from December 1st to 21st for sewer works, while SGN begins a 4-month gas main replacement programme on Hillway Road, Peacock Road and Sandown Road, the other main road into the village. Those works start on November 24th and run until March 27th. Southern Water described the sewer works as vital to prevent flooding in local homes, while SGN insists its gas works are essential for safety. The Tory MP said Southern Water's decision was made without proper consultation, and he questioned why the work could not be delayed. Closing the busier of only 2 roads in and out of Bembridge for the entire lead up to Christmas is very bad timing by Southern Water, he told the county press. It was a decision made without proper consultation with Bembridge Parish Council or me. I understand that the work is needed, but it is not urgent work. Bembridge Parish Council has warned the timing could devastate high street trade and has asked Southern Water to reconsider the dates. Many local people posted their anger and dismay about the works on Facebook. Jan Baum said, "Surely a postponement to January would make sense. This will just be another nail in the coffin for the amazing Bembridge businesses." Marion Elaine Watson expressed her anger by saying, "I am speechless that a private company can close a major road without consultation with the local council. This is really unacceptable." A spokesperson for Southern Water said, "This work is important to reduce the risk of sewer blockages and potential flooding incidents, ensuring the network remains resilient for the community. Our teams will be focusing on a section of sewer beneath Embankment Road near Solent Landing. We will have to close part of Embankment Road during this period, between Harbour View and the Pilot Boat Inn. We are sorry for the disruption and inconvenience this may cause, and have sent almost 4,000 letters to customers in Bembridge, St Helens and Brading, letting them know what is happening."
Now an item about a Christmas tree competition. Win a Christmas tree in this festive competition. The county press is delighted to have teamed up with Shite Trees to give a real Christmas tree to one lucky reader. We have a 6 to 7 foot Norway spruce worth around £50 to give to one reader, and it is sure to be the centrepiece of their home this year. Shite Trees have been growing its own Christmas trees on the Isle of Wight for decades and is well known in the community. A small team of knowledgeable, experienced, dedicated staff show customers around to find the perfect tree for their needs. The business is a member of the British Christmas Tree Growers Association, who believe in the sustainable farming of Christmas trees. Norway spruce is the original, traditional Christmas tree and one of the most popular varieties, and there is a huge range of sites. Would you like to win the Christmas tree? Simply answer the following question. What type of Christmas tree is being given away? Send your answer, full contact details, to competition@jwcp.co.uk by midday on Thursday, November the 27th. A winner will be picked at random. Terms and conditions apply.
Clampdown on rat run driver culprits. Motorists dodging roadworks by rat running via Aquart Village Lane have prompted more robust barriers to be installed after earlier ones were illegally removed. The 7-phase Island Roads project is tackling what local road campaigners call the worst road on the island, a mile-long stretch through Roxall riddled with potholes and cracks. The works cover St John's Road, High Street and Clarence Road and are scheduled to finish by February 27th, after a 2-week Christmas break. However, Island Roads has cautioned the timeline may shift due to winter weather, ground conditions, or unmapped utility services. The closure is already having a major impact on travel through Wroxall, with bus routes affected and motorists heading to Ventnor needing to divert via Whitwell or Shanklin. It is also causing many motorists to break the law.
Police sting catches man grooming teen. A man tried to groom someone he thought was a 13-year-old girl on the Kik phone app. Charlie Bolland of Stevenson Road, Cowes, appeared before the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court after being snared in a police sting using the Kik messaging app. The 25-year-old admitted 3 charges of making indecent images of children, categories A, B, and C, attempting sexual communication with a child under 16, and possessing 2 extreme pornographic images involving bestiality. The offences took place in Newport between April 2019 and June 2020. Prosecutor Laureen McConnell said Boland began messaging on May the 14th, 2020, sending a photo of himself, aged 19, to someone he believed was a 13-year-old girl from Bournemouth. In reality, it was an undercover police officer. After receiving 2 decoy photos, Boland replied he wanted to teach her naughty stuff, and later sent a selfie and several explicit images asking for pictures of her in a bra. Police arrested Boland and seized his iPhone, which revealed 16 Category A child abuse images, 11 Category B, and 18 Category C. No mitigation was offered on his behalf. Boland was bailed for sentences at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on December the 12th.
Big Man with an Even Bigger Heart by Rufus Pickles. County Hall paid tribute to former councillor John Howe, who's recently died. He was described as a big man with a big laugh and an even bigger heart at a full council meeting on Wednesday. Mr. Howe represented Totland at the local authority from 2001 to 2021, serving on several committees including planning, licensing and the Children and Young People's Scrutiny Panel, Chair Ian Dorr told the Chamber. Held in the highest regard by Totland residents and the West Wight community, Mr. Howe was also praised by his close friend, Councillor Chris Jarman, who currently represents the Totland and Colwell ward. Councillor Jarman said, "On behalf of the residents of Totland and Colwell and myself, it's with great sadness that I report the passing of my predecessor and great friend John Howe. John was born on our island in 1942. John was a Totland parish councillor for over 50 years and an Isle of Wight councillor for over 20. He was my proposer and mentor. Many will recall his dedication to help Totland bloom, to the preservation of Totland Pier, and to local facilities and businesses. Indeed, no one could have done more to support the well-being of Totland residents." The leader of the Empowering Islanders group added that Mr. Howe was known as someone who quietly stepped in when others needed help. Finishing on a personal note, Councillor Jarman said Mr. Howe was a big man with a big laugh and an even bigger heart. Councillor Matthew Price, the Conservative representative for Fairley and Whippingham, hailed Mr. Howe as always very welcoming when he joined the local authority in 2013. "We had some really great conversations on the planning bus, sometimes going to 6 different sites, which is almost unheard of these days in planning," Councillor Price said. I spent quite a lot of time with John, in and out of the chamber. A really lovely man. Liberal Democrat group leader and the council's deputy leader, Councillor Andrew Garrett, agreed with the sentiments expressed by Councillors Jarman and Price. He told the chamber, John was of course for a while a councillor on this authority in the Liberal Democrats. He left the party to sit as an independent, but he never left his liberalism. He was a liberal man to the core and served this island immensely well.
Fireworks noise shock killed my beloved dog. A heartbroken and angry dog owner whose pet died after being spooked by fireworks has called for stricter rules around sales. Viv Lee from Northwood said she is grieving like she's lost a family member following the avoidable sudden death of her golden retriever Molly. Viv, 58, was relaxing at home with rescue dog Molly, 9, and her 2 other pets, Cody and Flora, last Saturday, November the 15th, when she heard explosions in her back garden. A private firework display lasted around 40 minutes, startling her 3 pets. Over a period of around 2 hours, Cody and Flora hid under the sofa, while a terrified Molly charged around the house, letting out blood-curdling screams. Hoping a vet could come out and sedate Molly, Viv went to get her phone, but by this point, Molly had collapsed to the floor and died. Val said she has been through all the emotions since and has had to take a week off work. It was a horrific way to watch my dog exit this world, she said. When she first came into the world, she wasn't treated very nicely by humans, and yet again, to see her go in such a distressed manner is absolutely horrible. They're not just animals, they are furry family members, and they're more than just pets. Staff from Cremation Service, the Lodge Crematorium in Brooklyn, came to collect Molly the following day. Viv feels Molly's death was avoidable and wants people to think twice before throwing fireworks around. She said, if the neighbor had put something on Facebook to say they were going to do it, I could have given her a calming tablet. If you're not prepared, there's very little you can do if you've got a dog or any animal or person that's frightened. If fireworks could be made without that great big loud explosion sound, then fine. Going forward, she would like tighter restrictions as to who can purchase fireworks. My ideal scenario would be that they're not sold to the public and only people who are putting on public displays, because they're dangerous, aren't they? Viv plans to report the incident to the police and to the RSPCA. She said Molly was adored and will be greatly missed.
Flu cases 3 times higher than last year. The number of people with flu is already 3 times higher than this time last year, the Isle of Wight NHS Trust has said. Health professionals say they have seen cases hit earlier than usual. Warning of the effects on the elderly and those with underlying health conditions, the Trust is urging people to get protected before the worst of winter comes. Sue Lightfoot, Hospital Vaccination Centre clinical lead, said, we know that protection from vaccines can decline over time. That is why booster doses are offered to help maintain strong protection against becoming seriously ill or needing hospital care if you catch COVID or flu. If you are unable to attend the hospital vaccination centre, you can visit one of our health and well-being clinics. At these clinics, you can access a range of health and well-being support, including blood pressure and body mass index checks, dietary advice, smoking cessation signposting, advice on early cancer screening, and referrals to social and well-being support services. Seasonal vaccinations are also available at these clinics as part of the offer. The clinics will be running at community venues across the island, making it easier than ever to access protection close to home. St Mary's Vaccination Centre will open on October the 1st, 2025 until end of January 2026.
Ambulance staff fear cuts could put patients at risk. Currently, there are 8 day crews starting work between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., 3 extra crews between 12 p.m., 1 p.m. and 2 p.m., and 5 overnight vehicles, staff said. Plans could see this change to 6 crews between 6 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., 2 mid-morning shifts, 3 shifts between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m., and 4 night shifts between 6:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. Staff said the reduction in night shift crew from 5 to 4 is counterproductive, given that demand is actually increasing year on year. Since 2019, there has been a 36% rise in calls to the service. Most calls, it is claimed, should be attended by non-emergency teams, but it is ambulance crews which are having to respond. Unlike the fire service or the police, we do not have mainland colleagues who can hop on a ferry to bolster numbers, one staff member said. Staff also claim there are ambulances on duty with only emergency care assistants and no paramedic on board. They argue that this is putting patients at risk. The county press has been told specialist paramedics in cars will be available, and plans are in place in the eventuality of a major incident, including utilizing Coast Guard, the air ambulances, and hovercraft services. Staff also raised concerns over training hours being cut to squeeze more shifts out of already exhausted crews. Plans also seek to reduce the number of day staff that day staff have off between shifts from 5 days to 2 days. Staff said that some weeks they could be made to work 5 12-hour shifts. There are also concerns over regular crewmates and fixed start times being removed, and the impact this could have on mental health and their family lives. Joe Smythe, Chief Officer of the Isle of Wight NHS Trust, said, "We recently launched a consultation which proposes changes to frontline rotas that enable us to be financially sustainable while continuing to provide safe provision of services. All services need to seek new ways of working to ensure continued financial stability whilst meeting the exchanging demand of our community. We understand this may be a troubling time for our teams, which is why we are consulting and have already received extensive feedback. We remain committed to working together to refine these proposals and ensure we continue to safely meet the needs of those we care for."
Man found guilty of stalking former MP by court reporter. An ex-councillor has been convicted of stalking former Conservative leadership candidate Dame Penny Mordaunt. Edward Brandt, formerly of Freshwater, who now lives in Lymington, was found guilty of stalking the former Portsmouth North MP at Southampton Crown Court, but jurors acquitted him of a second, more serious charge of stalking involving serious alarm or distress. The trial had been told that Brandt sent the former leader of the House of Commons at least 17 emails and 3 phone messages, as well as turning up at her Portsmouth office out of hours. Brandt, who lived on the Isle of Wight at the time, is accused of failing to comply with the terms of a conditional caution issued in April 2024, which required him to complete a victim awareness course and not to contact Dame Penny. The 61-year-old left 2 voicemail messages for her, and in one said, "I am going to go on gently knocking at your door to shake your hand. I'm not giving up." The divorced father of 2, who worked as a professional sailor, was also made subject to an interim stalking protection order at Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on July 16, 2024. Dame Penny said she feared sexual violence because of the defendant's creepy behaviour. She told the court, "I have been a parliamentarian for 14 years and have had to deal with all kinds of threats and issues. I am quite used to dealing with this, and I am quite a robust individual. I believe this man was a real threat to me and still is." Explaining why he wanted to meet Dame Penny, Brant, a former councillor for East Hampshire District Council, told the court, "I wanted to commiserate with her for not getting the top job. I wanted to congratulate her because she was a reforming leader of the Commons. I wanted to congratulate her on the coronation, chat to her about her time in office, have her sign a copy of her book. It was entirely political and entirely harmless." Brant, who said he had been diagnosed as having ADHD and being on the autism spectrum, said, "I wasn't getting a reply, I harmlessly kept trying." Brant was released on conditional bail ahead of sentencing on January 16th. Dame Penny lost her seat at the last general election.
Meet the CP team at Hub event. Have you got a burning question for the county press, a story to tell, or you're just interested in meeting the team behind the country's biggest selling local weekly newspaper? While we always welcome visitors at our Newport newsroom, we are getting out and about in the community to make it easier for people to talk to us. The first event is on Monday, November the 24th at the Better Days Cafe in Ventnor. We will be there from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and we're providing a donation to the cafe to cover refreshments. Diaries allowing, we are planning to send along editor Laurie Little and merchandiser Pamela Parker, with reporters dropping in if their schedules allow. Laurie said, "We often hold readers' panels in the office, but now we're branching out and coming to you." The idea was to go to a warm hub community type place and see if we can help the people there in any way. We look forward to meeting the community, so do drop by and say hello. The county press team will be at Spire in Ryde in the new year from 11 a.m. on Friday, January the 9th.
Disabled Bay fines appeal to drivers by Oliver Dyer. Illegal and inconsiderate parking in disabled bays has resulted in more than 5,000 fines being issued in the past 5 years. The Isle of Wight Council, which has collected more than £160,000 from penalty notices during that time, is urging drivers to think twice before taking a space that is not meant for them. It's not just a parking spot, it's someone's independence, the local authority said. Between 2019 and 2024, a total of 5,428 fines were issued on the Isle of Wight, totalling £160,085.33. The council said money from penalty charge notices is put towards local highways and transport infrastructure, including improving and maintaining accessibility, as well as supporting the necessary enforcement operation. In 2024 alone, island drivers forked out more than £38,000 between the 1,404 fines issued, figures obtained from a Freedom of Information request reveal. A total of 1,068 fines were issued in 2023, 913 in 2022, 670 in 2021, 500 in 2020, and 873 in 2019. Some of the worst offending locations include Newport High Street, 752 fines, Lugley Street Car Park, Newport, 444, Regent Street, Shanklin, 170, Town Lane, Newport, 148, Key Road Car Park Ryde, 102. A spokesperson for the Isle of Wight Council said, "We strongly urge all drivers to respect disabled parking bays and only use them if you have a valid blue badge. These spaces are a lifeline for people with mobility challenges, enabling them to access essential services and live independently. Parking in these bays without a blue badge is not only illegal but deeply inconsiderate. It can prevent someone with a genuine need from attending a medical appointment, shopping for essentials, or simply going about their day. The figures demonstrate that enforcement is necessary to ensure disabled bays are available for those who genuinely need them most. We ask all motorists to think twice before taking a space that isn't meant for them. It's not just a parking spot, it's someone's independence."
Much needed homes plans. A new housing proposal next to Horsebridge Hill will help provide much needed homes for Isle of Wight families, a local councillor has said. Councillor Andrew Garrett, who represents Parkhurst and Honey Hill, said he was pleased Captiva Homes' latest planning application continues a partnership with housing association the Sovereign Network Group. Captiva's plans include 32 houses, a means of access, landscaping and auxiliary infrastructure on land at Acorn Farm. The proposed development extends from the Phase 1 site, currently under construction, according to E3S Consulting. However, the leader of the Liberal Democrat group at the County Hall also flagged concerns over the speed of traffic on the thoroughfare, a lack of adequately maintained pedestrian infrastructure, and recent heavy rain overwhelming drains at the bottom of Horsebridge Hill, resulting in flooding. Horsebridge Hill was during the summer subject to a one-way system as a result of works relating to the island's largest affordable housing development in a decade from Captiva Homes and Sovereign Network Group. Councillor Garrett told the local Democracy Reporting Service this week, "I am pleased to hear that this planning application continues the partnership with the Housing Association to help provide much-needed home for island families to rent and buy. It's good to see local connection in respect of living or working on the Isle of Wight is set out in the draft Section 106 legal agreement. If the application is approved, the total number of homes in the development will be 177, which is less than the 203 originally allowed for the previous planning permission, subsequently revised to 145. There are, of course, issues related to any development, and I urge residents to raise these during the public consultation period. I have arranged to meet with the planning officer to go through any issues to make sure they are all properly addressed. Captiva's latest proposal includes 20 houses classed as market housing, 9 as social, affordable or indeterminate rent, and a further 3 designated as affordable home ownership, according to the developer's application form.
Poppins crowned your Cafe of the Year 2025 by Zach Saunders. A family-run favourite in the heart of Shanklin has been named the County Press Cafe of the Year 2025, and the owners say it is all thanks to their wonderful team and loyal regulars. Poppins on Regent Street might appear small from the outside, but the 30-seater cafe has built a big reputation for its friendly atmosphere, hearty portions and welcoming service. The cafe is run by Mr. Balchi, alongside his wife, who is the main chef, and their son, Efi. Together they have turned Poppins into a bustling community hub, since taking over 5 years ago. When news broke of their award win, the celebration was immediate, with the packed-out Poppins bursting into applause. Mr. Balchi said, "It is great, I feel happy. We always make sure that the team is happy and make sure customers are happy too. Staff say they love working at Poppins, something regulars can clearly sense. The cafe is often busy, with locals and tourists alike filling the tables for freshly prepared breakfast, delicious coffee, and a variety of traditional British dishes. People should come and feel the warm atmosphere and meet the staff," Mr. Balchi said. "If you feel lonely, you can come to us and have a chat." Efi believes customers voted for them because of their consistency and care, saying, "Since we've been here, we've helped give Poppins a good name, and now we're always busy. Customers never leave hungry." The Balchi family say they owe their success to their loyal customers and hard-working team. When asked why he thinks Poppins won the public vote, Mr. Balchi said, "Because I think we're nice and friendly and a warm place to come to. It's always clean and tidy and great service. We try to give our customers more and more. Poppins also runs a loyalty scheme with a free drink the reward for regular customers. Open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday to Saturday, Poppins remains a familiar fixture in the town, a place where good food, friendly faces, and a warm welcome keep people coming back time and again."
Police officer kept innocent man in cell. An Isle of Wight police officer kept an innocent businessman in jail, despite knowing he had been wrongfully arrested, a jury has learned. PC James Martin appeared at Salisbury Crown Court for trial, accused of misconduct in public office, which he denies. Jurors were told how private security boss Benjamin Churchill spent time in custody even though PC Martin knew he had done nothing wrong. Mr. Churchill was the unwitting victim of a prank call, which resulted in him being arrested and thrown in a cell. The court heard PC Martin disliked Mr. Churchill and would not have minded if he had stayed in custody longer. It was told that Hampshire and Isle of Wight constabulary officer had issues with bouncer and security provider Mr. Churchill for some time, preceding the incident on December the 30th, 2022. Following a professional disagreement on December the 10th, Mr. Churchill reported PC Martin for intimidating behaviour. Subsequently, PC Martin, a specialist dog handler in Newport, sent an email to numerous colleagues. He said he was suspicious of Mr. Churchill's involvement with drugs and said they should follow up on and report of him using excessive force. On December the 30th, having received the email, fellow officer PC Benjamin McGee decided to prank call PC Martin by pretending to be Mr. Churchill. He told PC Martin that he'd heard that he'd been chatting about him and calling him a PK. PC Martin was apparently unaware that this was a joke and immediately reported the call to senior officer as a threat. He also changed his phone number the next day because he believed that Mr. Churchill had his contact details. The next day, Mr. Churchill was arrested for malicious communication in front of his 7-year-old son. He was kept in custody for an hour and 40 minutes, which he said felt like forever. However, the court was told that just minutes after the arrest, PC Olivia Peachy, who witnessed the prank call, heard that PC Martin had taken it seriously and messaged to tell him it was a prank. PC Martin replied, "You're joking. Benjamin Churchill has just been nicked." He said he was beyond angry about it. Prosecutors allege that minutes after these messages, P.C. Martin gave witness statement, failing to mention it was a prank. This happened at the start of Mr. Churchill's custody, which would have been much shorter had P.C. Martin come clean. Mr. Churchill was only released after P.C. McGee went to the station to confess it was a prank. P.C. McGee was ordered to issue a public apology to Mr. Churchill after his own misconduct hearing. The trial continues.
First recipient awarded new horticulture bursary. A young woman has become the first recipient of a new horticultural bursary. Shoshana Hill, 21, was awarded the Simon Goodenough bursary by the Ventnor Friends of White Horticulture, VFWH, to support her studies for the RHS Level 2 Diploma in Horticulture. Shoshana said, "I had moved to the island with my parents and discovered there were opportunities for horticulture here. I was volunteering in the gardens at Osborne, and I saw a poster in the restroom advertising the Simon Goodenough bursary." She submitted her application to the trustees of VFWH. Sally Peake, VFWH trustee, said, "One of the principal tenets of the Ventnor Friends of White Horticulture is to extend our input into getting young people from the island a start in horticultural jobs and careers." Having received her application, the trustees couldn't wait to meet Shoshana. "We were struck by the thoughtfulness of her approach and her long-term plan." The bursary, announced at a VFWH event on September 6, will fund Shoshana's studies with the Edinburgh Botanic Gardens. Established in memory of Simon Goodenough, the late curator of Ventnor Botanic Garden, the bursary aims to support new and existing horticultural careers.
Town shop transformed. Photos reveal the extraordinary renovation of a town centre shop. Megan Baker, owner of Megan Baker Estate Agents, teamed up with James Pilcher, owner of Heroes and the Tech Store, to buy 64 to 65 Powell Street at auction in September 2022. The property, which once served as Central Meats, a wholesale meat processing unit, has remained vacant for several years. The pair have transformed the building into two commercial sites, essentially rebuilding the whole interior to meet building regulations. The shop now features a handmade double frontage with two doors opening to Heroes and the Tech Store, and a separate door leading to the first floor. The conversion from food production to retail was a massive undertaking, requiring planning permission and building consent for change of use. Over 3 years, Megan and James juggled running their businesses with the renovation project. The shop now boasts an interior with black display walls, a matte black ceiling, and a central yellow command center counter. The rear is a bright yellow area for ground floor gaming and display. The business is planned to refurbish the first floor into a large open-plan tabletop gaming area. The building, which has a history dating back to at least 830, has housed various businesses over the years, including a shoemaker, a horse and trap hire, fishmonger, hatter, herbalist, and mineral water manufacturer. Megan said, "There is so much negativity about Newport Town Centre. The High Street has in recent times suffered economically and aesthetically, with large High Street stores with ugly frontages ready to leave when times get hard. Step one road back to the secondary roads, though, and you will find them thriving with independent business. 64 to 65 Powell Street has an amazing and varied history, and with the extensive repairs and improvements, we hope it will continue to serve the town for long after we have gone. It feels like our legacy." Heroes and the tech store will officially open at 10 a.m. tomorrow, Saturday. Visitors can expect a DeLorean car outside, offering a perfect photo opportunity for fans of the iconic time-traveling car. There will also be giveaways plus cosplay contest.
Hard day at the office for teams. Vectis Rugby Football Club showed their resilience last weekend, with both under-13s and under-16s facing formidable opponents away from home. The under-13s battled Trojans RFC in a challenging match, while the under-16s took on Basingstoke RFC. Both fixtures tested the mettle of the young players. In the under-13s match, despite a scoreline of 9-2 in favour of the hosts, the effort and determination from Vectis were commendable. Points for the away side came from E. Foster and W. Lee. A club representative said, "It was a hard day at the office, but the lads showed incredible grit." Meanwhile, the under-16s mounted a valiant comeback against Basingstoke, ultimately falling short with a final score of 25-19. After losing J.P. Anderson to injury early on, Vectis found themselves trailing but rallied back, with tries from James Pushparaj, Finley Brown and Herbie Conway Hughes. Their commitment shone through, especially in a second half that saw a disallowed try adding to the drama.
Drug driver with ban caught in bus station, from the court reporter. A teenage drug driver who drove to pick up his stranded friends after a night out in Newport has been banned from driving. Callum Warren, 19, of Adelaide Grove in East Cowes, appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court earlier this month, where he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of drug driving. Prosecutor Laureen McConnell told the court that police were alerted to Warren in the early hours of May the 18th, when he was seen driving a Volkswagen Fox towards Newport at 3:45 a.m. The court said officers became suspicious when Warren immediately turned off the road as soon as a police vehicle pulled in behind him. Mrs. McConnell said Warren stopped at Newport bus station on Orchard Street, where he tested under the limit for alcohol, but provided a positive drug test. At the police station, a blood sample confirmed that he was over the limit for BZE, a derivative of cocaine and ketamine, although 3 times over the limit for ketamine and nearly twice over for BZE. Mrs. McConnell told magistrates Warren had no previous convictions, though in February 2025 he received an out-of-court disposal for possession of cannabis and assault. Defending, Oscar Vincent said the incident happened in the early hours of a Sunday morning. Without seeking to excuse his behavior, he said, Mr. Warren did not consume any substances since Friday and believed he was fit to drive. Mr. Vincent told the court Warren had not gone out on Saturday night, but had received a call from friends, and out of loyalty and not wanting to leave them stranded, agreed to pick them up. Since his arrest, Warren had been honest with his family, attended Inclusion for help and support, and stopped using cocaine, the court heard. Giving the opportunity to speak, Warren told magistrates, I am sorry for everything that happened. I didn't know I was perfectly fine to drive. Magistrates disqualified Warren from driving for 17 months. He was also fined £320, ordered to pay £85 in costs, and £128 victim surcharge.
Campsite named best in South East. A holiday destination has been crowned the best family campsite in the South East for the 2nd year running. Ninham Country Holidays near Lake was named the winner at campsites.co.uk's Camping and Glamping Awards. The family-run site, which was also named runner-up in the Best Campsite in the Southeast category, was given a 4.87 star rating on the travel listing, up from 4.79 last year. 100% of reviewers said they would recommend the site. Guests continue to praise the campsite, with comments including, "I think I've found my favourite campsite. This place is beautiful." Another said, "What a wonderful site, quiet, clean, fantastic, friendly staff." Ninham offers plenty of on-site facilities for all ages, including a heated swimming pool, table tennis, and a TV/games room. Martin Smith, the founder of campsites.co.uk, said, "Our annual awards give us the opportunity to celebrate the UK's best campsites, and this year's standards feel higher than ever. Each of the winning sites stand out for the care they put into being consistently excellent. My thanks and congratulations to all of the winners for adding some much-needed adventure to everyday life."
Broadband provider wins 2 top industry awards. A broadband provider has won 2 top industry awards. White Fibre was named Best Rural Internet Service Provider and Best Fibre Infrastructure at the 2025 ISPA Awards, held at City Central at the HAC. The awards recognize the company's work in delivering high-quality broadband to rural communities and its fibre infrastructure across the Isle of Wight. John Irvin, Chief Executive of White Fibre, said, "White Fibre is committed to making the Isle of Wight one of the best connected places on the planet." Winning these 2 awards proves that not only does White Fibre have the best fibre infrastructure in the country, but couples this with great customer service to win Best Rural Service Provider. Thank you to ISPA UK for this recognition. It inspires us to continue pushing boundaries and delivering exceptional service to our Isle of Wight community. Thank you too to the White Fibre customers who completed thousands of speed tests to help us win these awards.
Pensioner seriously injured in moped collision. A pensioner with serious injuries was rushed to hospital after a collision with a moped. Police were called to St John's Road in Ryde at 3:27 p.m. last Friday, following reports of a serious collision near the junction with Warwick Street and Prince Street. An eyewitness who passed through the area shortly after the incident said a moped collided with a pedestrian. The pedestrian, a man aged 70, was taken to St Mary's Hospital in Newport with serious injuries, which have since been described as stable by a Hampshire and Isle of Wight constabulary spokesperson. The road was initially partially closed, before being shut in both directions around 5 hours later. It remained closed for several hours. Motorists had been diverted via High Street, Warwick Street or Prince Street while the closure was in place. Up St John's Road, the cordon began at the junctions with Player Street and Albert Street. Police are investigating the circumstances of the collision.
Pair admits smuggling in migrants. 2 Ukrainians caught smuggling migrants into the UK after their yacht was intercepted off the Isle of Wight in a major cross-border operation have pleaded guilty. Vladislav Chernyavsky, 37, and Oleksandra Javtushenko, 43, of no fixed addresses, appeared before Portsmouth Crown Court this week. They jointly admitted to facilitating illegal immigration. The pair were arrested on July the 20th when a pleasure craft was halted off the Isle of Wight by the National Crime Agency, Border Force, and French law enforcement. The vessel was accorded into Gosport Marina, where officers discovered 5 migrants on board, 4 Albanian men and a Vietnamese woman. One of the Albanians was detained after being arrested for failing to appear at court in connection with separate drug charges. The other 4 were handed over to the immigration authorities. Chernyavsky and Yevtushenko were further remanded in custody and will be sentenced at a later date.
Offender has a horrendous record. A prolific offender whose record is peppered with offences, over 100 of them, has been sentenced once again. Daniel Kilshaw of Green Street Ryde appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates on Tuesday, November 11th. The 44-year-old admitted theft from a shop in Newport on September 6. Prosecutor Leah Dillon said Kilshaw and a woman entered Asda at around 7:30 a.m. She said the pair went to the meat aisle and Kilshaw loaded various items into a trolley. Miss Dillon said the pair then entered the alcohol aisle and filled the trolley with further items. Despite being spotted by staff, only 3/4 of the products were recovered. Michael McGoldrick, defending, said Kilshaw had a horrendous record of previous convictions linked to his homelessness and substance abuse. He said he was now clean, on a prescription for methadone, and had made huge strides forward. Mr. McGoldrick told the bench custody would set Kilshaw right back and lead to the loss of his accommodation. Kilshaw, who was jailed both in March and May, was fined £120 and ordered to pay £30 compensation to Asda. The presiding magistrate told Kilshaw, "It's good to hear you're in a much better position than you have been in the past."
Council Finance Chief is calling it a day after 10 years. A finance chief is to step down after a decade in this Isle of Wight role. The Isle of Wight Council has confirmed its formal agreement with Portsmouth City Council for the shared appointment of Chris Ward as Section 151 Chief Finance Officer will come to an end next year. The arrangement, in place for around 10 years, was established to strengthen financial leadership during a time of significant challenges for the Isle of Wight Council. With growing demands on both councils and the scale of work involved in local government reorganisation, it has been agreed that the Isle of Wight Council will now appoint a dedicated Section 151 officer. Wendy Pereira, Chief Executive of the Isle of Council, said that by the time that Chris leaves, he will have served the Isle of Wight Council for a decade. His professionalism and dedication have left a lasting impact on the Council and the island community. I'm sure everyone will join me in thanking Chris for his exceptional service and wishing him every success in the future. Mr. Ward will remain in post until May 2026 to support the Council through its 2026-27 budget planning. He joined the Isle of Wight Council in April 2016 during a period of serious financial difficulty and quickly developed a new medium-term financial strategy that delivered an immediate £50 million boost to the Council's finances. Chris Ward, Section 151 Chief Finance Officer, said, "It has been an absolute privilege to work for the Isle of Wight Council over the past 10 years, but with the advent of LGR and the enormity of the workload involved, going forward I no longer feel able to fulfill my statutory duties to the Council effectively." He also played a key role in securing an additional £4 million per year from central government. Phil Jordan, Council Leader, also paid tribute to Mr. Ward's contribution. Councillor Jordan said, I want to thank Chris for his commitment and financial expertise and guidance over the past 10 years. He has financially managed in no small way to deliver financial outcomes and budget requirements that we all, as residents and businesses on the island and under extreme funding cuts, have found protection from potential government intervention.
We now have White Memories and Nostalgia. Why Stone Buildings Are Just So Special by Sarah Burdett. Stone buildings form an important part of the character of the Isle of Wight. These may be grand churches, but often are smaller buildings. The southern part of the island is rich in stone buildings, as that is where much of the suitable stone is to be found. The character of Old Shanklin appealed to Victorian tourists and still appeals to visitors today. Walking around the area is easier than driving through it by car. The same goes for the village of Godshill, with its stone church high on the hill. The island stone from the south of the island is a light-coloured sandstone, which was found to be easily worked and pleasing to look at. The builders of the churches used it to good effect. The tracery of the windows and doorway features were carved by skilled masons. Today, several of these church features have had to be repaired as the stone has weathered over the years. Stone cottages may look quaint on the outside and often were thatched, both materials being easily sourced locally. Transport of materials was difficult on poor roads, so a builder used what was to hand. Lime was used to make the mortar before the rediscovery of Roman cement in the 1840s. The lime mortar allowed the stone to breathe. Later, cement mortar, used with stone, was not a success and led to the erosion of the stone, as the cement was harder than the stone. The lime mortar should always be laid flush with the stone, never ribbon-pointed, as this catches the rain and again encourages the stone to erode. In the north of the island, the famous Bembridge limestone was mainly quarried from outcrops near Bembridge and Binstead, hence its later name of Quar stone. The Romans used it in building their fort at Portchester. This hard stone, buff to greenish in colour, was used a little on the island in churches at Arreton and Freshwater, but mainly taken to help build the cathedrals of southern England, such as Chichester, Winchester and Romsey Abbey.
When that stone became more difficult to obtain, Binstead stone was quarried instead. The island quarries were near the sea, and this made transporting the stone to the mainland easy. Funding to do repairs to island stone buildings has taken hard work on the part of fundraisers and private owners, but they have persevered to keep their buildings in good condition, and we are delighted to see how successful people can be. The Isle of Wight Society has been awarding a conservation award every year since 1973. The award is now biannual and will be presented again next year.
We now have What's On. There's a concert for Advent at Ryde Methodist Church, Garfield Road, Ryde, on Saturday the 29th of November at 7 p.m. This features the St. Nicholas Mass by Joseph Haydn.
And we have from Trinity Theatre Cowes, present Sinbad, the pantomime. Tickets adults £10, under 16s £7, family £30. Bookings www.caods.org.uk, or the phone number is 01983 295229, and it's on the 2:30 p.m. the 30th of November, 7:30 p.m. the 29th of November, and 2:30 at 6th of December and 7th December, 7:30, 5th of December and 6th of December.
50th Anniversary Gala and Ales Weekend at Haven Street. The Isle of Wight Steam Railway will host its 150th Anniversary Gala and Festive Ales Weekend next Saturday and Sunday, November 29th and 30th. In partnership with Island Line, the event marks 150 years of the Ryedene Newport Railway, with a mix of historic and modern trains, including steam locomotives, Calbourne and freshwater, diesel engines, D2554, Nuclear Fred, and newly arrived 03179, plus Island Line's Class 484 units. A joint all-day ticket is £20 for adults and £10 for children, and offers unlimited travel across Island Line and steam railway services, while Haven Street will host a Christmas-themed real ale bar throughout the weekend. Entry to the station site and festival is free, with train-only tickets available in advance or from the booking office. Haven Street and its cafe, shop and train story centre will be open across the weekend, with trains running from 9:30 a.m. to 3:57 p.m. Locomotives are subject to availability. For more information and to book, visit iw.observer/steam-gala.
Traditional Livestock Market. A prime stock show will return later next month. The Gilton Market will take place on Monday, December the 1st at the Royal Isle of Wight County Showground in Northwood. Stock judging begins at 10 a.m. with the sale starting at 12 p.m. Matt Legg, chair of the event, said, "Over 40 years since the closure of the island's last permanent livestock market, it is great that we are still able to hold the Gilton Market to celebrate the fantastic standard of livestock that is produced on the island." Groovy Night of Nostalgia 1. Fans of 60s and 70s music are in for a night of nostalgia and live music. A special event, Jimmy and Friends, will take place on November the 29th at Dimbola Museum and Galleries in Freshwater, celebrating the music of the 60s and 70s and the golden age of the 1969 and 1970 Isle of Wight Festival. The show will be headlined by Big Red and the Cover Boys, joined by Tick Taylor of the Pretty Things and the Rolling Stones. The evening will feature music by Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Joan Baez and more. Dr. Brian Hinton, executive chairman at Dimbola, said, "This is going to be a groovy evening, full of energy, nostalgia and incredible musicianship. We can't think of a better way to celebrate Jimi Hendrix's legacy and the Isle of Wight's musical heritage." The two-part show will open with a medley of 60s and 70s classic before moving into songs that made the original Isle of Wight festival so iconic. Tickets are priced at £10 and can be purchased directly from Dimbola Museum and Galleries. Guests are encouraged to dress in period style with bell-bottoms, cheesecloth shirts and lovely beads encouraged.
We now have a public information item, My Message to Island Residents After Pen Report by Phil Jordan, leader of the Isle of Wight Council. The publication last week of Richard Penn's independent report into the behaviour of some members of the Isle of Wight Council and the subsequent letter from the Minister for Local Government has brought us to a decisive moment. The message could not be clearer, Unless we change course swiftly and decisively, the very future of our council as a self-governing body is at risk. The findings have been stark. A small number of councillors have allowed personal hostility, disruptive behaviour and refusal to cooperate and to erode the trust that residents place in their elected representatives. The breakdown of councillor standards of this small number of elected representatives is unacceptable. The behaviour has demoralised staff, paralysed decision-making and diverted time and energy away from what matters most, delivering best quality services and improving our island. The Minister's warning is no idle threat. Government intervention would mean the loss of local control over our council and island, something none of us want. Our future as a standalone island council is potentially at threat. The responsibility to put things right sits squarely with us, right here and right now. And it must begin with action. The Council will need to implement all of Richard Penn's recommendations, starting immediately. We will have to strengthen the Code of Conduct, ensure that poor behaviour is challenged consistently, and provide the training and mediation support that councillors and officers need to work together professionally. Transparency will be at the heart of this process, and residents must be able to see clear progress. But this is about more than rules and procedures. It is also very much about culture, and about remembering why we serve as councillors. Public office is not a platform for personal battles. It should not be a forum to disrupt or continually challenge information and data, ignore advice. It is a duty to listen, to collaborate, and to act with respect and integrity. The overwhelming majority of councillors already live by those values, and they deserve to work in an environment where dignity, respect, and cooperation are the norm. So do the staff who work hard in our council to serve our island community. To all of the residents of the Isle of Wight, I would say to you this: your confidence in your council will be rebuilt through consistent, visible change and through cultural change and improvement and commitment to the high standards public office demand. We will show that lessons have been learnt and that respect for colleagues, for staff, and above all for residents is once again at the heart and foundation of everything we do.
And now we slip in belatedly something about Island's athletes finish in top 5 of Verona Marathon. 2 members of running club Right Harriers finished in the top 10 of the Verona Marathon. Chris Newnham and Carly Scoble made the trip to northern Italy to compete in the international marathon alongside around 3,000 others. Chris finished in 3rd place in the men's race, recording a personal best time of 2 hours, 23 minutes and 33 seconds, overtaking a Kenyan runner at the 41-kilometre point. Carly took 5th place among 1,500 female competitors, finishing in 2 hours, 55 minutes and 33 seconds, just 100 seconds from her personal best. Both members of the Harriers finished in 2nd place in their respective 35 to 39 age category. Carly and Chris had to tackle conditions of 95% humidity, which slowed the field down, well disguised by moderate temperatures. The marathon follows a course around the Italian city, including a flat and fast section on the banks of the River Adige. The second half of the race is more isolated for runners, as the half-marathon competitors had finished. The race finished at the Verona Arena. Carly and Chris will now turn their attention to races over shorter distances before starting marathon running again in the spring.
We now have letters. Get Country Back on Its Feet from David White of Bonchurch. Reading about war veteran Alec Penstone and his public quote, "The country of today, I'm sorry, the sacrifice wasn't worth the result. What we fought for was our freedom. We fought for it. Even now, it is a darn sight worse than when I fought for it." It makes me feel sad for Mr. Penstone and his feelings, and of those who lost their lives fighting for British identity and freedom. I applaud the gentleman for his true and valued comment. He stated more in a simple quote about the state of Britain than MPs and government ministers have ever stated in their ceaseless chatter and empty promises. The past government did nothing but offer sleaze, self-interest and little attention in solving the country's problems: illegal immigration, the NHS in crisis, a deterioration in public services, and a huge waste of taxpayers' money. And the present government are doing even worse, both proving they are outdated, inefficient, and have lost their way. Our only hope of getting out of the mess we're in is to look for a new party approach in leading the country. If we go back to Conservative, Labour or Liberal Democrats, we will get more of what we've had, and in our hearts we know this. Although I am non-political, I can recognise clearly when change is needed. Often the British habit is to put sticking plaster over the problem, but we must completely grasp the nettle and fix it. If we do not, we will lose our British identity and freedom. I will finalise by saying this. There was an old saying that charity begins at home. Put our own house in order first, and then go on from there. Also remember those who lost their lives fighting for freedom and the British identity. We should respect these people and their beliefs. Then we might be able to put our country back on its feet again.
Borders won't hold back rising seas, dear editor. To reduce immigration in the long term, wise governments will seek to address its underlying causes. What is driving people to leave their homes and communities to embark on dangerous journeys across unknown lands and seas? Many are fleeing war, persecution, and the devastating effects of global heating, seeking work and a better life. Many wars are started by wealthy nations' interference, such as George W. Bush and Tony Blair's invasion of Iraq, falsely claiming that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, and wealthy nations taking sides in other wars for political or economic gain. Many conflicts today have arisen from colonial powers carving up empires. During the First World War, Britain, which ruled Palestine, promised the indigenous people self-rule in exchange for driving out the Turks. Britain and France then divided the Ottoman Empire between them, but soon afterwards Britain promised the same land to Jewish settlers for a homeland. To discourage economic migration, we need greater equality of opportunity in the world. Corporations from the developed world have long exploited developing countries for mineral wealth and produce. Rich countries outsource their manufacturing to profit from starvation wages and appalling conditions. As for mass migration, we have seen nothing yet. If countries of the global north do not make greater efforts to tackle global heating and climate catastrophe, the global south will be uninhabitable within decades. Devastating storms, sea level rise, drought, famine, and conflict over scant water and food resources will drive vast numbers of desperate people northwards to possibly the only habitable land left in the world, with the UK at its frontier. the world is on course to reach, by the end of this century, a temperature rise since pre-industrial times of nearly 3 degrees. Already 1.5 degrees, many parts of the world are suffering extreme weather events, more severe, more frequent than before. From Maggie Nelms, Ventnor.
Tired Passenger, a letter from Liz Bell of Rye. As usual, we can travel the world with meticulous precision, then get to Portsmouth, like we did on Saturday, to find no catamaran. I was travelling with Cases and my husband, who can only walk a few steps with a walker. We'd had a long journey, and to be honest, I couldn't believe my email, which said there was no catamaran, despite me having booked it. What a disgrace! How can this company, Whitelink, treat people like this? I could have got a taxi to the ferry terminal, but then I was worried if we were going to be stranded at Fishbourne on the other side, maybe unable to get a taxi. My decision, for health reasons, for my husband, was to get a Premier Inn hotel, costing me £111, just so my husband was warm. The next morning we didn't know if the Fastcat was working, and were worried about the very difficult navigation onto it. My decision was a taxi to the hovercraft for £6, and a nice and flat walk and help at hover travel, despite another £37 paid out. Whitelink, you just don't care. It was a terrible end to our holiday, and of course for all the people who are treated like this every time Whitelink just decide to cancel. I read online when I finally got home, a day late and £154 less in my pocket, that there had indeed been a minibus at Fishbourne. It hadn't said that on my email. This letter is from a very annoyed and tired passenger.
Politically motivated by Ian Mickey Totland, your correspondent, Dr. Christopher Worley-Lagg, from the County Press Letters 14th of 11th 25, writes that Brexit has been an act of pure economic sabotage and vandalism, quoting the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, a politician who, let us remind ourselves, lied about being an economist at Halifax Bank of Scotland. And he further states the OBR, Office of Budget Responsibility, estimates that Brexit has wiped 4% from our economy. Dr. Worley-Lagg should possibly take more care with his economic sources of references. It is worth noting that the OBR has a notoriety for being wrong. In 2024, its error cut 18 billion off Reeves' November budget. Its spring forecast could not account for the government's planned 113 billion increase in infrastructure spending, the industrial strategy, or the greatest investment in social housing since the 1970s, and neither could it account for the impact of any US-UK trade agreement. In fact, the OBR's track record is so poor that the left-leaning's New Statesman published an article entitled "The OBR is Always Wrong" in July. Finally, Dr. Worley-Lagg should consider that all the work put out by Reeves and the OBR on Brexit is just hindsight guesswork, pure politically motivated speculation designed to divert attention away from their incompetence.
Hard Brexit, Hard Lessons, a letter from Dr. G. Clark of Shanklin. Dear Editor, I note that R. Beasley, Soapbox, November 14th, does not address my serious concerns about reform-stated domestic policies. Instead, they try to convince readers that the leader of both the UK Independence Party and the Brexit Party was marginal to our leaving the EU. From 2000 onwards, Farage made 38 appearances on BBC's Question Time to shift the EU from being a minority concern to 52% voting leave in 2016. Spin Dr. Farage's own campaign in 2016 centred around a deceptive poster of Syrian refugees depicted as incoming EU citizens. Cameron legally constituted the referendum as a consultation exercise. There's no such thing as a people's Brexit, because Leavers constituted just 37% of the total electorate. It would be illegal for a trade union to take industrial action with such a ballot outcome. R. Beasley also wrongly accuses civil servants of diluting Brexit. After the Brexit Party's success in the 2019 EU elections, Johnson chose the hardest possible Brexit. This included leaving the single market and customs union, despite leading Leaver assurances in 2016 that we would stay in both. Rather than claiming dilution or opposing Johnson's deal, Farage helped him get it over the line. The Brexit Party did not contest Conservative-held seats in the 2019 general election to ensure that this hard Brexit deal would go through Parliament. Departure on these terms has wrecked the UK economy, increased costs and paperwork for traders, and expanded the number of bureaucrats needed to administer what was previously a free movement in goods and services. The blame for the social and economic damage caused by Brexit lies with Farage.
Who's pulling the strings on floaty plans? The last letter. Dear editor, I read your front page article last week regarding a consultant's report. The elected council members prepared on instruction from officers with utter incredulity. The article could not better support your recent headline, which asked, "Who runs the Isle of Wight Council?" At the time, I quietly screamed, "The BL officers." They appear, judging from my outside viewpoint, to regard themselves as the true authority, totally contemptuous that it is elected representatives who alone have mandated leadership authority. Elected members have a duty to ensure their instructions are executed by officers exactly as instructed, but regularly fail. A classic example of officer contempt is the Cowes Chain Bridge. A council resolution was passed earlier this year to replace that ridiculous vessel, the decision formally recorded in council minutes. Officers with self-assumed superiority chose to ignore that and devised their own proposal, undermining the elected chamber. Had an acquiescent chamber accepted that proposal, it would have resulted in further waste of taxpayers' funding on pointless modifications. Happily, the elected members at long last grew some balls, rejected the officers' contemptible proposal, and reiterated their instruction to replace the useless vessel. The arrogant officers then commissioned, and presumably somehow made payment for, their independent report, likely designed with the intention of discrediting members. How dare they behave in such a manner? They are public servants. They have no mandate to take such action. Only elected members do. The members, in my view, do deserve to be regarded with disdain by officers and electors alike, because they clearly behave like schoolyard infants. Officers do not, however, have the authority to commission reports on members' behaviour behind their backs. Elected members are, sadly, a collection of seemingly petty-minded, self-important, possibly well-intentioned, but grossly incompetent and unskilled individuals. However, members have an electoral mandate. It is for the electorate to change that.
So it's goodbye from John.
And goodbye from Ursula.
BBC In Touch programme follows, and the Scaffolding News follows that.
Hello. We've covered quite a few controversies this year on In Touch, not least the realisation that with the changes in the way the world's most widely used screen reader, JAWS, would in future be paid for, meant that UK users could end up paying far more than their counterparts in the United States, where it was developed. For the non-techie, JAWS is just one of the ways in which blind people can read what's on their computer screens, text translated into speech or in Braille. We're not about to rerun that controversy here, but it's hardly surprising that some visually impaired people will now be looking for alternative options. Some technology suppliers will see a marketing opportunity, while we thought it was now our job to tell people what some of the alternatives were and get a rundown on them from an independent source. More from that independent source in a moment. But first, the marketing opportunity. UK-based Dolphin Computer Access, or Dolphin, specialise in assistive technology products. Their commercial manager, Simon Kitchen, told me more about what they do.
We have a range including Dolphin Supernova, which provides magnification and screen reading. So it's available in 4 different editions to suit your level of vision today and in the future. If your sight is more severe, you can also choose Dolphin Screen Reader, which doesn't include any of the magnification features, but includes all of the screen reading options.
So tell me about this offer.
We've heard lots of concern, as was factored into some of the shows which you've done on BBC In Touch as well, about the price of alternative assistive technology products kind of increasing, and also a kind of concern where people are being forced to make difficult decisions about how to keep assistive technology up to date. So since the 1st of October, we've been offering a 50% discount off a full license of Supernova, which includes a 12-month software maintenance agreement to anybody who's currently using JAWS or ZoomText or Fusion. So just to be clear, this is a full license of Supernova or Dolphin Screen Reader. You can use it as long as you like, and it has that SMA, a software maintenance agreement, which keeps it up to date for the next 12 months.
What about after that 12 months? I mean, do you own it?
Yes, this is a license which you own. You can use for as long as you like. It's not a subscription, and you can benefit from lots of help from our support team and from our resources to help you get started as well.
Does that support, though, go beyond the 12 months?
So the software maintenance agreement is for 12 months. We always recommend to keep that software maintenance agreement up to date, because that means that you're getting access to the latest improvements. If anything changes in Microsoft Office, in Windows, then you can keep that up to date as well. We have online resources such as an online learning zone where you can learn how to use your chosen edition of Supernova. We also have a range of help which is built into the product. You can use our Ask AI facility to actually, ask a question and give you the response of how to use Supernova without having to kind of trawl through a manual as well.
So how long does this offer last, Simon?
So the offer lasts until the 31st of December at the moment. And we also offer an hour of free telephone training from our knowledgeable support team that's based in the UK.
Now, people will doubtless see this perhaps as quite a good opportunity, but it only goes, as you say at the moment, to the end of the year. Next year, people will be paying full price again. Any chance you might continue the offer? This kind of equipment is quite pricey, and you're paying for knowledge rather than hardware. Once you've paid it, you could argue that, it didn't ought to go on costing you money.
Absolutely. So as we mentioned, it's a full license of Supernova, and it will work as long as you want it to. And then you do get that option to renew the software maintenance agreement. The offer is currently going until the end of the year, but we will be reviewing that.
So you've not decided. Not decided whether you're going to continue the offer into 2026.
Yeah, but we will be looking at that, and we've had a really good response from the offer so far, because it's helping people to see what alternatives there are. That if you are in this difficult position, there are options available for you.
That's Simon Kitchen of Dolphin. Now, another option which many listeners have mentioned to us is NVDA. That stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access. It is distributed by an Australian not-for-profit organisation, NV Access. Well, to find out more about that, I've been talking to its access and training support manager, Quentin Christensen.
NVDA is a screen reader. It reads aloud everything on the computer for someone who's blind or has low vision, or it can display it on a braille display. It lets you access basically everything on the computer or on the internet.
So, as honestly as you can, how does it compare with a product, say, like JAWS? What can it do? What can't it do?
If you, I guess, take a step back and just look broadly at both of them, they essentially do very much the same thing. So you can access the computer, you can read your email, you can browse the web, you can do all of those things with either screen reader. The main difference with NVDA, obviously, is the price. So NVDA is free.
But I mean, if it's free and if it's as simple as that, why would anybody get JAWS? But in fact, a lot of people do, and a lot of people go on doing.
Absolutely. And look, we'll be the first to say that choice in any market is a good thing. So it keeps all of us, performing our best.
Are you being a bit naive here, Quentin? I'm sure there are some things, a broader list of things that JAWS can do, maybe things that NVDA can't do.
Look, I think a lot of it is historic. JAWS was around before we were, and they definitely have that history, particularly in industry. But no, look, I think broadly we can do most of the same things. There are scripts, for JAWS that have been specifically written like that may not work for NVDA, although NVDA has a thriving add-on ecosystem. So essentially you can write little add-on almost programs that work with NVDA and change how it works or allow it to work with a program that it wouldn't previously have worked with, just as similar to scripts for JAWS.
It is free, as we've said. How do you manage to sustain that?
That was something that we set out to do from the outset. So we're backed by a charity here in Australia, which the board there ensures that, everything runs according to plan, and that if someone came along and said, oh, look, we'd like to buy you out for, X dollars, we couldn't just go ahead and say, oh, sure, here you go, because it would need to be passed by the board and everything. How we sustain it, though, is we work with companies like Microsoft and Google, Adobe, and so on, who help fund what we do. And in return, we give them accessibility expertise and help them improve their products, which makes them better not only for NVDA users, but for any users.
What about support? How much are you able to give support? Because that's what a lot of commercial companies would say, that, this is what we offer. We offer post-purchase support.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's probably one of the bigger questions that we get asked. And we do have telephone support available for purchase. It's one of the things you can buy in our shop, because we wanted to ensure that, yes, NVDA is free and open source and everybody can just download it. But we also want to ensure that we're providing that professional level of support that you would expect from any program, regardless of how much you paid.
Quentin Christensen of NV Access. Now, both of those contributors do have a dog in the fight, and there are a number of other options that people could choose. So we thought we needed a neutral voice to provide information on them. Richard Powell is a rehabilitation officer, specialist in assistive technology, who offers general training and courses at Henshaw Society for the Blind, based here in the Northwest. So, Richard, give us an idea of what are some of the other alternatives.
When you're looking at screen readers, all the ones we've discussed so far have been Windows-based, but there are other platforms with other screen readers on. But for now, I'll just stick to Windows-based. The only other real contender, the only other real screen reader in there is the one that's provided on Windows laptops within the operating system, which is Windows Narrator, which you get for free with the Windows operating system. There's pros and cons to all of them. But really speaking, for a screen reader on a Windows computer, you're looking at those four options.
I suppose the big question is how people do make a choice. What are the criteria?
It's all about what you want the end result to be. That's certainly where we start. What's your goal? What are you trying to achieve? So, for example, if you're working 9 to 5 on a Windows computer and your company is paying for your screen reader or access to work, you may well want to stick with JAWS, especially if you've been using it before and it's familiar and it's set up to the way you want it to. JAWS has obviously been around for a long time. It's got a huge amount of support out there. You could go onto YouTube, for example, and watch lots of training videos, as you can with Supernova, but it is also the most expensive option. It seems to be the industry standard, which obviously NVDA, Narrator and Supernova wouldn't be able to quite claim. If you're looking for something that is very functional, flexible, but you've got a very tight pocket, NVDA is a fantastic option. It doesn't have quite the same level of tuition videos available on YouTube, for example. You might have to do a lot of working out how to use it by yourself, although there is some support, as we've heard.
Just before we move on, I mean, that is in a way the key question. You sort of think, well, if they do very much the same, why would anybody pay a lot of money for it when there's somebody doing it free?
I think that the difference between NVDA and JAWS is probably going to be more about the training. It's possible that JAWS is more flexible, but it can be more complicated because it's more flexible. If you've already been using JAWS, NVDA is certainly a good option because NVDA can be configured to be fairly similar to JAWS, but obviously it depends on how much you want somebody to have your back, so to speak, because if you go with NVDA, you're probably not going to get that same support framework that you would get with Supernova or JAWS.
And it is, I suppose, also this recognition of it by rather significant players, like maybe employers or Access to Work.
I think with Access to Work, it seems to be that they have certain things that they will always go to, but they may not be aware of other factors. And it's certainly the case where I've been in meetings with people and other options may have suited them better. So when they've gone to Access to Work, they've gone with a request list as opposed to going to Access to Work and saying, what can you provide?
We've tended to concentrate on Windows. What are the other alternatives? What about people, for example, who use Apple Mac?
So if you're using Apple Mac, you wouldn't be able to use JAWS on it, but it comes with VoiceOver built in, which is the Apple screen reader. There's also the Chrome books, which come with Chrome Vox built in, which is their version of a screen reader.
So for someone starting from scratch, and you must, in your job, meet some of these people, what would be your advice?
It depends what the goals are, but for me, a big part of people that may be new to sight loss is they've got to learn to do everything again from scratch. So I usually kind of start with what device, what platform are they on at the moment, what are they most familiar with, and use a screen reader related to that. So if they've already got a Chromebook, I would suggest starting with Chrome Vox because they're already familiar with how the Chromebook works. Then they're just learning how to use a screen reader. And what I would normally suggest is try those, see what you think. And if you're struggling with those, and one of the other options or one of the paid for options can solve that problem, that's probably the time to consider the paid for option.
Richard Powell, thank you very much. I'm sure many of you will have views about this. We'd like to hear them. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk or you can leave us a voice message on 0161 836 1338. That's it from me, Peter White, and producer Beth Hemmings. Goodbye.
Scaffolding and skips news for the week commencing 21st of November. Newport area, 128 Malthouse Court, Providence Corner Building, Pyle Street and Town Lane elevations, Toohey, Post Office Lane, 19 C Street, Grays Walk, 15 to 16 Key Street, and Newport area skips, 79 Medina Avenue.
And Ryde area, St Mary's Catholic Church, 55 High Street, House of Zeba, 12 Union Street, The Star Inn, High Street, Ryde Opticians, 40 Union Street, ex-Barclays Bank, 7 High Street, 51 George Street, 44 High Street, Bembridge Sailing Club, Bembridge, and Ryde area skips, 58 West Street, and 59 High Street, Bembridge.
Cowes area, the Portland Inn, Worsley Road, Gurnard, and 20 Bridge Road.
For the Ventnor area, Old Town Hall Court, Albert Street.
Sandown area, 52 Fitzroy Street.
And lastly, Yarmouth area, Old Town Hall, The Square.